Welcome to Actually Controller, the podcast that is actually Controller, and we are actually in control of everything you are hearing right now. I'm so very sorry. Did you enjoy it?
I hate it here.
Hey, I think everybody enjoyed it.
Oh my god.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
So,
Welcome back to Actually Controller. You got Steve.
You got Chad.
Chris.
And Jeffrey.
Hello.
Hello.
So
sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that horrible accent. So,
It's been a
Apparently
feisty
Steve wants
day.
to give us the clap.
yeah. Oh, I didn't want to. I did.
Yeah, he gave it hard.
Yeah, it was a hard one right before everything started.
So this particular podcast.
Yes, this particular podcast.
Oh,
No,
closer. This particular podcast.
there you go.
Hey.
Sorry, you don't have ears.
Yeah.
Chad. No.
Oh, we're going to do this for a second episode now.
Yeah.
Tune in last week. No.
So on a previous episode,
The fists were flying.
Bum, bum.
so in the previous episode, unless you're on Patreon, it sounded like everything was composed, but we were fighting and fist.
Yes.
The previous episode.
Were you
which
getting ready to say
actually
fisting each other?
recorded 30 minutes ago.
No.
We were fighting and fisting each other.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
Once again, I encourage you to subscribe. Subscribe.
No, this kept running right on that line of needing a hashtag retake,
Okay,
but it
fair.
didn't.
That's fair.
Just so you can see Chad
Shh, you're-
fisting the air.
Yeah.
He did lead with a finger. He's like,
Oh my god. What's the topic?
Okay, so this week's episode.
whoa, Jeff's reining us in. What,
Yeah.
what timeline are we living in right now? What just happened?
So apparently, once you go
Wow.
into season 2 of the podcast, Jeff's the adult.
My bad. Well,
we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah. So
alcohol today. I mean, that's.
yeah, in this episode, though we are missing Bob, we already kind of had a chat with him to get his input on it. But we were going to talk about the favorite tracks out of our own personal catalog, where obviously we all have our outside influences and our favorite songs that we have from other bands and everything. But when you've been doing this project as long as we have and have released as many songs as we
14
have,
months?
yeah, as long as you have,
Yeah, as long as you have.
Hey! Way to 14-month it.
yeah. Releasing as many songs as Controller has, you have to, at one point in time or another, hopefully, at least have enjoyed one or two songs
Oh, wait.
along that timeline.
We're supposed to enjoy it? No. I'm
Theoretically. Theoretically.
We sure the heck are not getting paid. So
Yeah. Yeah. There better be something else involved in it for you, or else, man, you're going to be in for a world of hurt on this one.
kidding. And that's fine.
So,
favorite controller track.
yeah, favorite Controller track. I mean,
We should start with with Robert since he's.
yeah,
not here.
so after talking with Bob, he had actually kind of sidebarred me a little bit and gone, so I know this sounds different, but actually my favorite track would be the Cold Road Rage remakes off of the Redefined EP, which actually kind of took me for a loop. And it was, the way that he described it was because it had all the movements that he liked out of the original, but it was, if I'm not mistaken, the BPM is cranked by like 40 or 50 more
Yeah, it's a
BPM
little
from the original.
faster.
So the energy level is obviously, hence the name, Road Rage Remakes.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Yeah. It makes it a lot. Boom! It makes it a lot more.
Derailed everything.
Jeff, take control.
He's been trying to say it makes it a lot more for like the last minute. Let's keep going. Come on.
Road Rage remix.
Makes it a lot more high tension, high energy than the original one. Thanks for the setup, bud.
Appreciate you.
This
But-
is great.
So some nuances that happened with that one. Jeff had actually built the entire remakes bed to everything. However, it still needed all the guitars completely recorded again over the top of it because it was one of those, well, we can't just take the guitar track and speed it up that fast because it's not going to sound like a guitar anymore.
So I'm like, Steve, come over and just plug in. We can do this. It's
and
fine.
it's like, cool, well, that still doesn't sound good. So while we're at the studio with Austin Putt, I'm going to have to re-record all of that there. So the guitar got re-recorded at Putt's. I think some of the vocals got recorded over at your place, but then the rest of the vocals got recorded over at Austin's. It was a weird hodgepodge of how everything got recorded for that
good.
one.
Thanks for working with me, Austin.
A lot of road rage.
Yeah, a lot of road rage happened for at least Austin on that one, probably.
It wasn't so bad. From what I remember, he was pretty happy with it. Thank you.
Fair enough. And since I'm kind of babbling already, I guess I'll throw mine out there. Mine is The Struggle off of the expanded edition for Ascending Degrees.
Agreed.
The main reason for that one was that was a track for me that started more just as an experiment. I had my 7-string guitar. I'd obviously written things where I'd done a lot of big chording and all that stuff with all 7 strings, but I had yet to write anything where I used each individual string as an actual structured riff component for a song. And I'm like, can I do this? Can I even try? Can I do it and have it sound good, or is it going to just sound like a train wreck?
You like it because you nerded out on math and you made the math work somehow.
And then when I brought it to you guys, it not only worked for me, but it worked for everybody, and then everybody found their little niche in it without it having to be any type of fight.
It was such such a fun bass line to play. It was
everything just worked. It was one of those songs that you hope to happen whenever you're in a band where everything just culminates and comes together and nobody's trying to find that thing that's going to work or trying to force that part into making it happen. It just all lined up, and I was like, oh my God, this is what it was supposed to. It only took like 6 years, but it happened. It finally got here.
At least he got his one song.
Yeah. So, but I mean, beyond that, just the way that we did the production, because I had some visions for production ideas that I threw over to Putt, and I was hopeful that they would actually be able to be done with panning ideas and stuff like that. And he was able to actually take what I was describing and actually put it into play. And I was like, oh my God, it actually happened.
Yeah.
Cool.
That had the really cool like AM effect.
The AM effect and the way that it shot over to the right channel and the swell in for it to actually do kind of a stereo pan before it fully went to center again. A whole bunch of tech stuff, but regardless, all the ideas that were thrown out of can we do this? Can we make this happen on this track? Every single one of them
they all
happened the exact way that we all were proposing that they happen.
Yeah, and they all felt. I do remember that recording process now that you speak about all that, and it's like, yeah, that was one of the easiest off of that recording process, off of that EP to get it done.
Yeah, because technically it was additional songs that created an expanded edition. It almost, for everybody who's unaware, it was almost released as its own EP.
Yeah,
all that collection of songs.
At
we were
that
almost
time, we were still eyeballing it. Like, well, all right. So, am I next then?
Yeah.
Okay. So, a long time ago,
in a land far away.
So, a long time ago. When we were first getting together and deciding to do this was basically the first song that we attempted to write together, and that was Shadows Left Behind.
Yeah, because it had started as a Six Lives Out song.
Yeah, and it was the rewrite process that we went through that actually sold me on it. And even actually that song actually pushed me to see the band as more of a serious something. Because we took the time, that was it kind of built the baseline of how we would structure, that we would allow ourselves to do stops, that we would allow ourselves to structure in weird timings and stuff like that. And it was like the doorway opening of how to communicate music with everybody involved. And
yeah, because at that point we had nothing that we were doing other than just freeform jamming, because we're like, well, we're technically new. I mean, the three of us, me, Chad, and Brandon, all had previous stuff from Six Lives Out, but with you and Bob being involved, there was nothing really for us to perform together.
Yeah, so it was just a lot of freeform jamming, and it was the first one where we were like, okay, we're going to learn how to communicate so we're all on the same page kind of thing. And I knew everybody
Which
had
we
the
still
ability
struggle
to.
with.
The struggle.
See, it's so fitting in so many aspects of our conversation.
But then on the other end of it, it's got so much energy. You know, like when we played that song out.
Except for the energy that Chris doesn't want to exert on it because he hates that song.
For the longest time.
No, that's lucky.
For the longest time, it was like our closeout song,
Yes.
too. So.
No, I do not. No, lucky.
I know you don't like Lucky, but I know you also don't like performing Shadows. It's not that you dislike listening to it.
I'm a drummer. I don't know what the song title is.
This is the one with the gallop. Either way. Anyway,
but that's my favorite song.
But to give a little more context.
What? Hashtag retake. I actually slipped. Wow.
Woo, way to go.
What episode is this? That's my first F-bomb.
Oh.
Damn.
I think it might be. It's either your first or second. I think you may have gotten one like in the first or second episode.
I think you were the
F you, Jeff.
I think you
Jeff you.
I think you were the first F to the uck.
Jeff you, Jeff. Jeff you.
But to give a little more context also, though, towards Shadows, the version that we were writing at the very beginning during all that rehearsal stuff was what came out for the demo version.
Yes.
So there was still growth that happened to that song even before we made it the official release thing on the album for Undefined. So Chad.
Yeah.
What's your song, bud?
Well, you already said it, but
what's your other song, bud?
I do have a secondary. Precursor is actually another one of my favorite songs. The build that song has, the constant just build up,
the movement style
that it was, and when it finally reached that climactic end, it was just like so much fun, so much energy, and it's one of the songs that we scared other bands with when they had to follow us.
Yeah, it's fairly.
Are you
epic.
remembering now? You remember,
I liked it because it had that whole epic. It goes from one movement into another.
Yeah, it was a
movement.
constant changing.
It was you and me having a moment in the back room during the writing sessions for this album.
Oh, you what?
In the back rooms.
In the
have you ever been to the back rooms? You just gotta
room.
glitch out of reality.
Is that the same as the dungeon over here?
No, that's totally different. That one has a
No.
lot of windows. It's a sunroom, so everybody can see what happens
You haven't
back
seen
there.
back rooms, yellow walls.
No, but
red
I'd have to say
carpet.
Precursor was definitely one of my tops.
So you were saying
it was
Except
So you
for
were saying
Steve
about the
probably
back
thought I was going to say
Yeah.
Desire.
With the back room writing sessions though of that album. That was one of the ones where I don't even think we had riffs developed at first for Precursor.
No.
It was all just a principled premise of, it'd be really cool is if instead of a song with traditional parts, we wrote a modern movement.
Yeah.
But in a new metal form.
That turned out really fun.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, but the principle of the structure actually was what got written before any of the parts got written.
Well, so we're really into writing the super epic, 37-minute song.
When did that happen?
Is that like Tool?
Kinda.
I feel like we should have started this whole podcast with hey, we're going to drop some links. You better listen to them before we get to our
Oh,
conversation.
I mean that is fair.
Well,
Or you pause the podcast, go ahead
Yeah.
and give a listen, and
there
come
you go.
back.
There you go.
yeah, at this point, go ahead and
37
pause.
minutes later after the song's over, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this
something like
point,
that.
go ahead and pause if you would like. All of the songs that we're talking about in this episode are all going to be in a playlist that I create on YouTube, and I will have the playlist link in the description below. Or if you just want to finish listening to the episode and then go and listen to the playlist, you're more than welcome to do that too.
all these songs are going to be.
Yeah, all the songs will be there. Because we're also going to throw a couple other ones in there that I know some of us all kind of have as a secondary song, or ones that we have certain, story attachment to and everything like that. So, Chris,
Yes.
what's your favorite song?
Well, my favorite song, and you guys are probably kind of annoyed by it, but it's Pinocchio.
Yeah.
I like it. personally.
So, and going back to like, dude, like you gotta like think about the show we just did. Like
I
going back to
know.
watching you guys get into it. Like,
Oh yeah, it's so easy
So,
to get into Pinocchio.
it's got a really solid, very steady groove that Brandon created that loops the whole entire song. So part of that at first was like, man, this is annoying. I'm playing the same thing the whole song. But then like, no, it's a fun song to play. It really became my favorite. The story was that I actually picked up what I deem the controller sound.
Yeah.
For the drummer is the China that he used to use. So I was at a show as a spectator. I think we were on the bill with you guys. I wasn't
Yeah.
even your drummer.
Yeah,
and
probably.
you guys were playing it, and he kept hitting the China at the very end of it. And I'm like, what is that? I absolutely love the sound of the China that he was using. And I got up from the beautiful slice of pizza. And Sullivan's.
I love you
Sullivan's.
so.
It was so beautiful.
Sullivan's.
So I get up. I run over to the drum riser, and I'm just basically staring Brandon down, waiting for him to strike that whatever. And I have no idea which one he's hitting, so I'm waiting for that sound. And once he hit it and the song was over, I flipped the cymbal and was like, all right, I'm buying one.
Yep.
So,
And then another.
and then another and a
And then-
third because they're cheap.
Yeah.
18-inch Agazarian. If you have one, feel free to send it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Please.
I went hunting. I can find 14s all day long. They've discontinued the 18.
18
And-
Agazarian.
While recording
Oh yeah.
the final death crack to his 18 that he has happened while we were sampling the
So
China.
I'm not.
Oh,
I'm not a
Yeah.
machinist. Oh, you weren't there yet. So I'm
Oh,
not a
no.
machinist. So at some point, maybe even back on tour, I developed the crack, and I basically cut it out because if there's any cracks in cymbals and it rubs, it creates the friction that doesn't allow it to resonate. So it did kind of change the sound a little bit, not a lot. And then I actually brought it out and I set it up and said, "Please don't cut yourself, Austin."
Yep. And he
I
still
set it up.
snagged himself
He did.
once
Yeah,
on
I
it.
set it up and I used it for the drum tracking for these last eight tracks that I tracked 2 weeks ago or whatever. And literally the last song, right where the bell starts folding out, it cracked. And that's not replaceable.
And
at that
it's a
point.
long one too, and we only
Dang.
really heard it in context when with the way that we do everything is just to be on the safe side. If there's like a tom strike that for whatever reason didn't have the same impact or something like that, Austin gets what's called a sample pack of each individual piece for him to be able to actually let's bring up the boost on that. Well, we also did that with the China, and all of a sudden Chris goes, "Oh no!"
Yep, that was it. It was
Oh,
dead.
no.
It's completely gone. And so yeah, I don't know. I might have to steal. Zane's China in here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Literally steal it. If it comes up missing, I don't know where it went.
Yeah. Thanks, bud.
I didn't
But,
hear
so
anything.
that's my favorite. I think.
So
going back to the
if
list,
so Pinocchio is your favorite for context of that. Is there any other ones?
I am very, for obvious reasons, I'm pretty partial to Clarity. Yeah. Only because, so going back to everybody pause and listen to all these tracks. You guys are talking about some tracks that I don't even know because you guys have a large catalog.
Yes.
I don't know how to say that because it's not my catalog. We have a large catalog of
Yeah.
songs that I'm not even familiar with. But Clarity was the first one that I actually got to throw down drums to.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, we had we had pretty much kind of gotten that one to the finish line. Things happened with the previous drummer.
Yep.
Long story
Well,
short,
and
we were unable to do anything further with the track until we got Chris
so it was kind of
involved.
it was kind of the audition process
Yes.
as well. Like
Yeah, it
what,
was
what
part
can you
of the
write,
audition
what can you put here?
process.
And you sent a couple things. You sent one with a click, you sent one without the click, and you sent one with the original track drums, which the direction was don't try to steer away from it, but
Yes.
if you need ideas. And I didn't listen to it but once.
Yeah, and it
because
was
I
more
really
of
wanted
a.
to stay away from
we wanted to send that track to everybody that was auditioning as more of a for safety purposes because, as everybody knows, we're on a label, and when things get released, that has the label attachment to it as well. And then if there's personnel that's not getting,
intellectual property.
yeah,
basically, what it
that's
is.
not getting credited the correct way.
Yeah.
Things can go sideways real quick in a legal manner.
Well,
so
and
it was
aside of that. It just didn't feel right to be like, hey, we're releasing this song that you put your drums over, and
And at the same time, hiring a new drummer. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I was in the same boat, but yeah, there's multiple aspects of why we could not release the original version.
So Clarity is like the infant to me. It's my first child with Contrøller.
Yep.
Laying down drums. And then you did the unsigned showcase.
Yeah.
And he had a really positive review. I remember watching the video for the first time, his review, and like as soon as the drums kicked in, he's like he like sat back and he was like, he really loved the drum I wrote there, and I'm like, I've never really been a part of a project that's actually had outside reviews done.
Yeah.
You know, you leave a show and somebody's like, good job, and you're like, yeah, thanks for telling me good job, because that's the thing to do. You have to tell everybody good job.
You just say good job.
Good game, bud. Good game. You pat everybody on the butt.
But when you got a guy somewhere in Portugal who has no idea who we are.
Yep. And he gives, and obviously he's a very positive person.
Yes.
So check out Unsigned Showcase.
Yes.
On
Just
YouTube.
did another review of our song Quicksand not too long ago.
That was a notch in the ego, but like playing that live is it's fun because. I know we've got some songs coming up. Like I'm very proud of what we did with Control Yourself, and how difficult that is for us. A couple of the breakdowns that we're doing coming up on the new tracks, but I really like the ending to Clarity, like how it goes through it. We get really intense right out of the breathy moments.
Yes,
and it's very syncopated kick work, and that's what I do. But I also incorporate the controller sound. With the China. Then we kind of taper the song off, and we give Bob an opportunity with his vocals. But all that like just comes together, and being a part of that for the first time was like, ooh.
Yeah. Aww. It kind of seeing what the inner workings of all that part are in the camp.
But still Pinocchio.
And that's fine.
So Pinocchio, as long as there's no overheads, is my favorite. There's a caveat.
So
there's no overheads.
Just so you know, any other sound guys from this point forward, if you have to give us overhead, they have to be undermounted,
or move them for that last one.
Yeah,
and it's only because I like to perform that song. I like
you
guys dig it. You guys jump around, and then I'm doing.
It's one of those, we've been doing it for so long, it is muscle memory for us to where...
It's there for me now.
Yeah, and I figured it doesn't take long. Once you figure out the pocket on it...
When you're doing 2 forward stick flips and a reverse stick flip, as long as there's no overheads,
no overheads,
you tend to be like, okay, well, it's just... Yeah.
Right. So, do you got any other ones?
As he looks at the playlist that we created.
Yeah, they don't.
So for context, we did actually kind of record something. We had this conversation prior, so
yeah.
I believe it was actually Robert who had said Void, but I'll jump on that one anyway because
Void is such a good song.
That was a really fun song to write because we decided to do this 3-4-4-4 switch halfway through, and it was kind of like
wasn't a 10-8 writing.
No, that's happened already for the new stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks, bud.
And we're nerds, so we really enjoy like different time signatures. Also, the way that Robert approached the vocals on that particular song was real interesting because I believe he said that he had kind of gone with like a Sun Tzu mentality of
if I remember correct, he had stated and. Don't give me an exact quote on this one, but if I remember correct, I thought he had stated he was having extreme writer's block, and he had actually stumbled on a Buddhist proverb.
Yeah, and
book,
that became the.
And he is actually pulling sections of proverbs out of that Buddhist book to actually create the lyrical content for Void.
Yeah, and it really worked out really well. I mean, as far as the groove on that song, even though it sounds weird that it goes from a 4/4 to a 3/4, it works so well.
That was a hard sell at the very beginning, though. I got you on board almost right away. That was a hard sell, though.
For Brandon?
To bring to rehearsal and be like, okay, hear me out. So we're swinging between 2 time signatures. One's odd, one's standard.
Oh.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
I thought that was your norm. So when we started writing Control Yourself, I was like, hey, that was my turn to say, hear me out.
Yeah. No, this was on first album. This is like song number 4.
Yeah.
That we were working on.
I know that you don't quite get in gel with everything we like to do, but hear me out.
Yeah. And there's almost no distortion also going during any of this. So it's like cleaner and multiple time signatures that keep swinging in and out of one another. So hear me out on this one. So yeah, it was a little bit of a harder sell at first, but once it was you got it? Oh, I got the idea then. And then it was, okay, now it's definitely one of those cool groove tracks.
Can I sidebar real quick? Mm-hmm. Why are we calling him Robert today?
I been trying to
I don't
not
know.
just call him Bob. I don't know, man. That's just I
just
don't know.
I just noticed. I'm like,
I-
Robert.
I'm
Not for
sorry.
me. I like Bob.
He's Bob.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, it's the safe word. That's right. We can't,
We can't keep saying the safe
can't
word.
say Bob.
So some other songs I know had been talked about before were Turmoil. Also got talked about.
yeah.
And so now that this actually popped up in Chris's algorithm,
Full circle thing.
he
It
can
is.
actually even have a part in the conversation on this
I didn't
one.
really listen to. I mean, I did listen to the song, but so because I'm studying material for you guys, and obviously we had a show coming up, so I made a playlist for the show. Contrøller is starting to show up more and more in my YouTube algorithm.
Yep.
And the other night I was watching some videos, and the next recommended one was Turmoil, so I let it play. I don't think I had the volume on,
I
honestly.
had wonderful socks on in that.
And it was,
video. I'm just saying.
and I'm like, they look so young and tiny.
Oh,
Yeah.
you were so young.
And so then we showed up
tiny.
today. Something came up. I can't remember what struck the conversation, but
I think we were talking about doing this episode actually.
yeah. And then so I'm like, here's Steve and his like mohawk.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we were talking about motorcycles, crotch rocket. That's what it was, because you had your red mohawk.
Oh, I don't know what it spurned the
Yeah, I don't know how the
ADD,
segue
hold on, let's
made
bring,
it,
let's
but-
bring this full circle. ADD. Chad shows up today with a new motorcycle,
Yes.
Cat got a new ride.
and so we were talking about that. And
You
I
got the
said,
whip.
I'm not a fan
Yes.
of crotch rockets. And Steve, this is literally the brain synapses we were talking about.
That's fair, it's fair.
And Steve
Totally
says,
fair.
I've only owned crotch rockets, and then I'm like, oh, red mohawk, crotch rocket. That's the literally the connection I made.
I didn't get that. We didn't get privy
No.
to that.
No,
That
this was
all
all
an
like-
internal monologue.
Well, then I said it. Yeah, see, that's why I said
Yeah.
all the synapses that he did earlier that we were like,
Okay.
now you've got point A to point H. Now we're
Yeah.
together. Red mohawk, crotch
Yep.
rocket. And so this
I'm glad to know
video
that
shows
I'm
up
not
at like
the only one that does that shit.
Yeah.
Okay, you know?
this video shows up at like 4 a.m. on my YouTube because I was coming home from Chicago. Shows up in my YouTube algorithm of basically you said it was a live playthrough. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we
a
were-
live playthrough of them in a
Yep.
studio. Brandon's behind this glass.
Yeah,
playing.
he was in the drum isolation
And
room.
it looked like a one-take thing where Steve's got his head down, just super hyper-focused on guitar, but just the red mohawk.
Yep. Yeah, because like I had privy to
fabulous socks.
Chris, that video is actually a shot of not us doing it again,
No, that was us.
but
recording.
us actually recording.
Yeah, it was
and
live.
what we
I remember
did.
the side shaved head Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was shaved
And-
all except for the front. I just had
And
bangs.
You did the whole because you were playing, so you had
Yeah,
like the
that's fair,
lean,
that's
the
fair.
lean going on.
Yeah, the only thing that was that looks like it's happening that's not is we had isolation going on all of our cabs and we were direct in. So we had Bob in the main room mouthing vocals and
Yeah.
acting like he was performing vocals over it, but
I was
all the
wondering why it
instruments
looked like he was. So for those of you who have not subscribed,
Subscribe.
he was really cupping things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His hat, and I know
Oh, his hat
Bob, I know that
down.
Bob does the hat low thing, but all that combined, you would not.
Yeah.
You would not notice.
Yeah, so that was all for the purpose
I'm
of
sorry,
looking
Robert.
at like it was.
Okay, you know, actually, here real quick, I know why I do that. Because on his social medias, he's not Bob.
Oh,
He is
He's
Robert,
Robert.
Pearson.
Yeah.
Yes,
He's Robert Person.
Yeah.
that Robert
So
person.
that's
Yeah.
kind of why.
So with that though, all the instrumentation though, what you're watching is us recording the audio you're hearing in real time.
And what
and-
song is this again? Turmoil.
This is
Yeah.
Turmoil.
This is Turmoil.
This was
That-
the very, very, very first song.
So if you want to look at
We have
Steve's
a
crotch
recording.
rocket days,
Yeah,
red mohawk,
Yeah.
bringing it all back.
yeah. Actually, the Crotch Rocket days were prior to that,
Oh.
but still.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would have been the Mohawk era though.
Yeah,
Of
Mohawk era was good.
for a little while, actually, that would have
Did
been.
you hang out at Taco Bell's too?
No.
No.
That seems to think that's what crotch rocket dudes.
No.
Yeah, they
the
hang out at Taco
Yeah.
Bell way late night and like just stand around and do
Yo.
nothing
What
with
up?
their lighted crotch rockets.
with their lighting.
Not knocking anybody that's actually doing that. If you're a fan and you're supporting us,
Oh, yeah,
If you
no, I'm
enjoy
not-
hanging out
not
with your group,
knocking it at
hang out
all.
with your group.
yep.
I'm not knocking it. I've hung out at those groups.
If you own a crotch rocket, do not subscribe to Patreon right now and see what you just saw. So, yeah, that was the very first song, though, that not the one that, like Jeff had pointed out, Shadows Left Behind was the first one that we had really kind of like written, but Turmoil was the first time that we had actually written a completely from scratch, brand new song for this project. So that was the first one we took in and recorded, and we had no intention of actually doing the video.
Yeah.
That was while we were there, he goes, well, I can do a video shoot for you as well if you want. It's like,
Okay,
sure, fine.
Okay.
Because at this point in time, by the way, I just looked at the timestamp on that video, the Turmoil video, March 24th, 2011 is when that came out. So also keep in mind, YouTube was a thing, but it wasn't like the thing it is now back in 2011.
It was more of like a search engine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like
So,
videos and
in
sharing.
2011,
Whoever was there
we
was
were kind of
there.
feeling a little awkward and almost like, is this what we should be doing? Is this how you do it as a band type thing?
Yeah.
Releasing a music video for the very first song of an infantile project that had no following whatsoever.
YouTube was literally just sharing content. It wasn't the juggernaut it is now that's like monetized and
Yeah,
where there was no such thing as a creator then,
No, so
or
but
an influencer.
but yeah, that recording is what the video is what we were playing right then. So that's why I look ultra focused. That's why if you look into the room, Brandon is like cracking peanuts with how tight he's clenching and everything. So yeah, right there, bud.
those moments when you really look up and you see stuff.
Yeah.
yeah.
Steve was just ultra focused.
Oh my god.
No, I'm not
So he
even
was really
I'm not even going to explain what I just did. You have to subscribe.
For those not subscribed,
we're not sharing what just happened.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Oh my
Use your
gosh.
Either imagination or subscribe.
Let's just. He was ultra focused.
Yeah, it was ultra focus. And then for the video, to just kind of give a little more cap off to that, the only real secondary shots that happened in the video were really only from Chad, because at that point in time, Chad lived in an apartment complex that was less than a quarter mile away from the studio.
It was only a block away.
Yeah, so when the studio owner was like, well, if we want to make this video extra cool, by all means, you guys just come in at a later time and we'll do secondary one-off shots and everything. We're like, cool. None of the rest of us, because we have jobs and lives, had opportunity. Third shift guy over here, who lived a block away, was like, well, I can
I'll
squeak
stumble
in
down
for
there.
like,
I did it.
in 20 minutes or so. It's like, cool, I don't have that.
That explains like I said, the whole over the ears and the headband
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like over it.
My headphones had dropped down to almost look like a headband on me.
Yeah.
I thought you were just trying to be like, hey, look at this, I'm cool.
No, that was
No.
him trying to play along to what the heck he had just played a week
Yeah,
prior.
and I was
make it
getting
look
into it, and they just went, ooh.
right.
and make it look like actually legitimate, like he's actually doing it right.
Yep.
then.
So another song.
So yeah, so the video will have them up here, down here, up here, down here, up here,
Whee!
I have to go back and watch it again.
depending on what shot you're seeing of me.
So another song for me personally was "Your Own 2 Feet" off of the Undefined album. It was the last song. The verse riff, actually, for Your Own 2 Feet, ironically, not the chorus riff. The verse riff was written actually almost at the exact same time Turmoil was written. It was one of the first things to get written, but could never figure out what to do with the rest of it. We could never get that song over the finish line, but it was maybe a week before we were heading to the studio. It was like, we still need another freaking song.
Yeah.
I love that riff. Can we get this done? And it was one of those 11th hour type moments. We got some stuff done. I really,
11th hour.
that's why that song's named that.
Yeah.
But
We always like that crunch time song, getting it done right before getting in the studio.
yeah, but with Your Own 2 Feet, it was one of those. I don't know why it resonated with me the way that it did, but it was one of those. I think it was almost like it was the underdog story for me.
Yeah,
The way that song was.
You wanted to see it actually.
Yeah,
become
and-
something, and you were like, man, I just don't want this riff to just
Die.
fall to the wayside.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
And I
so
agreed with you, man. I was in the same boat. I was racking my brain about where's it go from here.
yeah, because we spent months and months just beating that riff up, trying to figure out where it could go, and nothing ever stuck. And it was up until we
Beating
went to the
it up
studio.
like it owed you money.
Damn straight. And
Hyper focused.
very hyper focused on it in the back room.
In the back room.
Hyper focused on it in the back room with Jeff.
That's how I glitched out and ended
Yep.
up in that place. So.
So with that one though, unfortunately, kind of like with the struggle, ironically, both of my favorite songs don't perform well live. We tried numerous times, especially at the very beginning, because we only had so many songs when we first started up.
Yeah.
If we needed to fill a set, it was pretty much everything we had to get played. So Your Own 2 Feet got performed quite a bit, but it never landed. It was one of those songs you could always look out in the crowd and go, that literally didn't resonate with anybody.
So you could say that you'd never landed on your own 2 feet.
Nope.
Yeah, pretty much.
Unfortunately.
Says the drummer.
Dad joke.
But yeah, it was still one of those. From a listening standpoint, I will put that on still to this day and occasionally spin it just because I enjoy listening to it. So,
well, that's a good thing, man. Like,
Yep.
You know,
I love going back and listening to a lot of our old.
So I do know that there's a song in particular that Chad likes to harass me about still to this day.
That's because it was so fun. I loved what I wrote for it. Desire was one that it became the ladies' song when it was written. And
well, I mean, even Robert had Bob. Even Bob.
Nope. Can't say the same
Okay.
word.
Even Robert.
Okay, so even Robert had come forward and was like, you know, I'm going to try to make this. He asked permission to make it the ladies' song or about that. So
The sexy song.
yeah.
And which kills me when we stopped playing it, we were getting harassed by some ladies about you need to play this, and I'm all for it because I love how I wrote the chorus for that song. So I'm like, yeah, I want to play it because I love the chorus, and
So
I'm like, let's put it in the set list.
what had
It's like,
happened
no.
was we were sitting there working on like other songs at the time, and I came up with this piano thing, and then Robert came over to me and he was
Robert.
like, dude, I really hear this thing with it. And then Chad came over and he started grooving to it. And before we knew it, we weren't working on the song we were originally working on before. And instead, we just started writing a whole nother song. And so we kind of railroaded what we were doing in the moment to write this song basically out of nowhere. Where I believe since I started the piano thing and you jumped on it right away, both me and you were pretty heavily invested.
Oh yeah.
But Steve was going back to the own 2 feet. I believe you were still trying to figure that out at that moment.
No, we're way past that. Your Own 2 Feet was undefined. This is on ascending degrees.
It's on ascending degrees.
Yeah.
Well, you were in the middle of something.
I was probably messing with the struggle or something.
He was at the end of everything.
Yeah. Okay, so for context for everyone, Desire was the very last song written for the Ascending Degrees Expanded Edition.
Yes, I do remember that.
It was one of those. I had brought the struggle to the guys. We had already worked out Numb, which was going to be like the lead track for the Expanded Edition. We had 2 remixes that had already been developed, one from Jeff and one from our buddy Nick for that release. And we had all agreed, though, that there still needed to be one new additional written track and everything. And it was one of those, I got nothing left in the tank. Yeah. So when we're in conversation and everything, I'm like, I got nothing to like show you guys. I got nothing to offer. And so when they started working on it, it wasn't that I was upset that they ended up taking the reins on it or anything like that, but it was still one of those, what the hell am I supposed to contribute to this? And it was I at least found what key you guys were in.
Right.
And I had a couple riffs that I didn't really like, but I was able to transpose them into the key you guys were in and make them fit. Yeah. But it was one of those, I felt like I was using the dumpster trash riffs that I didn't want to present,
and that's
because
fair.
I had nothing else to offer.
Well, I think though that,
and that's why I harass him all the time about it.
So real quick before we wrap, I want to know why you guys stopped playing it, because you just didn't feel comfortable with your riffs.
That's why I harass him about it.
Yeah. It's one of those.
I guess I got a new song to learn.
Cool. So when are we playing Shadows and Lucky next?
I can do Shadows.
When are we doing Shadows and Lucky next?
Never
well,
do
I
Lucky.
love you guys. Thank you so much.
So the only other one, real quick,
my bad.
there's one other one that I wanted to throw out that's also in the playlist that is a little bit of a sidebar one, and it's just because it's so weird for anything else we've ever done. We did a Nick Jonas cover.
Oh.
years and years ago from the song Chains. And it was one of those, for context, everybody who's been around listening to music for a long time, if you remember the pop goes punk era of everything, this would have been in that time frame.
Yeah, we tried to jump on the bandwagon.
We're not too much to say that we're not beneath trying to jump on a bandwagon. We feel like might actually get us some traction.
Well, to be fair, it's not. If I remember, Matt, our old,
he heavily pushed.
He pushed.
Yeah.
And that was like, if anything, that was the baby he wanted to see, like, born.
Not necessarily specifically that song, but us to do a pop goes
punk style song.
And so he, for a few months, he closely
new metal.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
So but he had closely monitored the top 40, like what songs look like they're either about to really skyrocket up the charts or are holding really strong and are going to stay there for a little while.
Yeah.
And so he kept an eye on those, and all of a sudden he saw the Chains by Nick Jonas pop up on the chart, and it was looking like it was climbing.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, well, regardless, we're going to need bare minimum a week and a half worth of time to write the song, rehearse it, and then go find some place to record this song. So
Yeah.
it's not like, cool, you found it, the next day we can have it released. That wasn't how it was going to work.
Right.
So it was one of those, okay, you're sure that this one is doing what you think it needs to be doing on the
And
charts?
He was all in.
That's it. That's the one. So we're like, okay, me and him wrote the song out in 20 minutes.
You and Jeff.
Yeah, me and Jeff wrote the song out in 20 minutes and brought it to him, and it's like, cool, these are the chords.
Yeah, I just like, okay.
Cool. And Brandon ended up coming up kind of somewhat matching the vibe off the original to
a little bit.
I
Did
think
he
I
use
think
the
I worked
China?
with, I worked with Brandon
Yeah,
a little bit on some of the structure
As long
stuff.
as he used
Yeah,
the China.
because it
Yes,
was
he did.
your idea to do the clicks and whatnot.
Yeah.
I remember sitting
Yep.
down and listening.
Yeah, there was some fine nuance tweaks that still happened once
Yeah.
we got all the chord structuring figured
and
out.
Chad was the one that like kind of directed where Brandon was going there with that particular song. I do remember that.
But I would say it was a week and a half worth of time between Matt figuring it out, you and me writing it, the whole band getting the composition fully like tweaked out
Right.
and messed with, and then us getting a hold of Nick and being like, we need to record this.
No. This was Putt.
No.
No, it was Nick.
Chains was over at Nick's at his house.
Yeah.
Over when he lived Southwest.
Yeah, and
We were in his living room and in his dining room.
Demetrius was with us.
No. Chains was recorded over at Nick's. That was how we introduced ourselves to recording
it?
with Nick.
Yep.
Huh.
So,
And that's
Well, my apologies.
so
And
yeah,
with
we
Putt
ended
for so
up
long.
getting a hold of Nick because we couldn't get a hold of Putt.
yeah.
And we were able to get in there and get the song
Oh,
done.
I remember.
Like the whole process took less than 2 weeks. We went from picking the song, composing the songs, restructuring the song, getting in there and rehearsing
That
it,
was largely
recording
due to
and mix and
Matt,
master.
Too is like, hey, we need to get this done now.
Yeah.
Hey, we need to go.
So yeah, just wanted to, because that's such an oddball thing for the context of this project. I felt like that one kind of needs to be in the playlist for everybody to just hear way left field of some of the things we can do. So
Yeah.
but yeah, this one ran a little bit longer, but hope that you enjoyed all of this and definitely
Sorry.
listen to the playlist
Yes.
to hear all
Yeah.
the songs we're talking about.
And we love your guys'
And don't just stop at that. Just keep listening
Yeah,
to the
you
rest
can
of
And
it too.
if you happen
subscribe.
yes, subscribe. And if all of those say that you've been around for a little while and you know our catalog, and none of those happen to be your favorite one,
Tell us
by
what
all
yours
means,
Comment.
please let us know what one is your favorite in the comments below. Or if you agree with one of us and one of our songs happens to be yours, please comment that as well.
And if you vehemently disagree, then
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine.
That's not helping anybody.
That's not helping. You take your opinion.
we have
somewhere
more.
else.
We have more coming. We have more material.
Yes, we have.
Yes.
We have
Be patient.
more
Music
EPs
is on the
coming.
way.
So, hope everybody enjoyed this one. Thanks for checking this one out, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Love you.
Goodbye. Thank you for listening to Actually Controller. If you liked what you heard, please consider following us on all our socials. You can easily find us on all the different platforms by going to linktree/controller33 or scan the QR code if you are watching the video version of this episode. Thank you.